And who might you be?
My family owns Dauncey Place.
Oh, dear. Mr. High and Mighty, is it? He laughed at the others. Looks more like a prick to me.
At least I don't punch women in the face. I try to act like a man, which is more than anyone can say about you. You made a mistake, you piece of dung. That lady was my mother.
Why, you little shite!
The large man started, and never finished. Paul Rashid's hand went into the deep pocket of his Barber anorak and pulled out a jambia, the curved knife of the Bedou. His brothers followed suit. As the other men moved in, Paul slashed with the jambia down the left side of the large man's skull, slicing off the ear. One of the other men pulled a knife from his pocket, and Michael Rashid, filled with energy he had never known, slashed sideways with his own jambia, cutting open the man's cheek, sending him howling with pain. One of the others picked up a branch and used it as a club to strike at George, but Kate Rashid ran from where she'd been hiding, picked up a rock and hurled it into his face with a shrill cry in Arabic. As quickly as it had begun, it was over. The rest of the group stood warily, in silence, not even the women and children crying out, and suddenly the skies opened and rain poured down. The leader held a soiled handkerchief to his ear, or what was left of it, and groaned,
"I'll get you for this."
"No, you won't," Paul Rashid said, "because if you ever come near this estate or my mother again, it won't be your other ear you'll lose. It will be your private parts." He wiped his jambia on the man's coat, then produced a Walter pistol from his pocket and fired twice into the side of the kettle over the fire. Water poured out and the flames began to subside. "I'll give you 1 hour to clear out. I believe the National Health Hospital in Maudsley covers even scum like you. But do take me seriously." He paused. "If you and your friends ever bother my mother again, I will kill you. Nothing is more certain." The 3 young men drove away through the rain, Kate following on her horse. The rain was relentless as they entered the village of Dauncey and drove up to the pub named the Dauncey Arms. Paul braked outside, they got out, and Kate slid off her mare and tied her to a small tree. She stood facing them in the rain, her face troubled. "I'm sorry that I disobeyed you, brother." But Paul kissed her on both cheeks and said, "You were wonderful, little sister." He held her for a moment as his brothers looked on, then released her. "And it's high time you had your first glass of champagne." Inside the pub were beamed ceilings, a marvellous old mahogany bar ranged with bottles, and a huge log fire in the grate. 6 local men at the bar turned, then took off their caps. The landlady, Betty Moody, who'd been polishing glasses, looked up and said, "Why, Paul!" Her familiarity was expected. She had known all of them since childhood, had even been Paul's nurse for a time. "I didn't know you were home." "An unexpected visit, Betty. There were some things I needed to take care of." Her eyes were hard. "Like those bastards at Roundhay Spinney? How on earth do you know about them?" "Not much gets by me, not here at the Arms. They've been bothering people in the neighbourhood for weeks." "Well, they won't be a problem to anybody, Betty, not any more." He placed his jambia on the bar. There was a sound of vehicles passing outside, and one of the men went to the window. He turned. "Well, I'll be damned. All the shites be on their way out." "Yes, well, they would be," Michael said. Betty put down a glass. "No one loves you more than I, Paul Rashid. No one except your blessed mother, but I do recall your temper. Have you been a naughty boy again?" Kate said, "The awful man attacked Mummy. He beat her." The bar was silent, and Betty Moody said, "He what?" "It's all right. Paul cut his ear off, so they've gone away." Kate smiled. "He was wonderful." The silence in the bar was intense. "She wasn't too bad herself," Paul Rashid said. "As it turns out, our little Kate is very handy with a rock. So, Betty love, let's open a bottle of champagne. I think copious helpings of shepherd's pie wouldn't come amiss either." She reached over and touched his face. "Ah, Paul, I should have known. Anything else?" "Yes, I'm going back to Sandhurst tomorrow. Could you find time to see if Mother needs any help? Oh, and